What's up, guys? It's Matt here, MJ's Garage, and that's right, as you see it, we have the M3 versus the Model 3 Performance. Which is the best vehicle to drive each and every day? And I know what everybody's going to be saying is, oh, I know which one I'm going to drive. We're going to go into an in-depth video of driving each vehicle, and we're going to break down each thing that's what's the best about this vehicle, what's not the best about this vehicle, most reasonable to drive each and every day on your daily commute to work and back. So today, as we jump into this video, we're gonna dive into each vehicle and we're gonna compare. Now, some of you guys might be asking this, hey, why are we comparing an EV versus a aspirated engine? Well, guess what? The M3 is now going to be transferred over to an EV supposedly in 2025, and the EVs are taking over the world. Now, what we have here in the Model 3 Performance is we have about 475 horsepower. We have 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds, and we also have a quarter mile at 11.5 seconds. That's pretty fast, guys. This is an all-wheel drive versus an all-wheel drive. Actually, we're gonna have 503 horsepower to be exact. Now, this vehicle has been tuned, and we're gonna talk about that in a little bit. We're gonna have 0 to 60 in 2.8 seconds and a quarter mile at 11 seconds flat. Now, depending on who's driving the vehicle, depending on how the track is, this is gonna be a great race. The other thing that we're gonna talk about is, why is this car $100,000 and why is this car, when it was brand new, $60,000? Yes, the economy might have changed a little bit, but at the end of the day, this is one of the fastest Teslas that's on the road besides the X and the S. But this is going to be more of a economical sports car. This is going to be more of a inexpensive sports car. So let's dive in and let's see what these vehicles can do. And you're going to tell me which one is best to drive each and every day. Now, we are in the Model 3 Performance, and we are going to talk about a little bit of the infotainment system and just some of the benefits on this 15-inch screen. It is a massive screen. A lot of the newer cars are going with the full screen display all the way across. This is definitely a different look. Tesla knew what they were doing when they were coming up with this. But it's got so many features and so many benefits in this one screen, because these last 15 years, we have been moving to iPad screens and getting away from these standard 5, 6, 7, and 8-inch regular radio infotainment screens. Now, the downfall of the screen, it does not have the Apple CarPlay, but what Tesla is saying is their infotainment system is way more advanced that you don't need the Apple CarPlay. Now, the one thing I do like about it is very simplistic. A lot of the features, if you want to get into there and modify anything, all you have to do is go in and change some of the controls. The one thing about this car is, like I said before, the reason why I'm comparing it to an M3 is it does have a lot of the features that the M3 does in regards to a sport. So if you're wanting to go into sport, obviously we have right now is we have it already set in the sport acceleration. Steering is going to be at standard. We're going to change that to sport. And also, if we want to customize, we can go ahead and customize to what we want this vehicle to do. And right now, if you can see, I have it set at Jones. We have all the power going to the rear wheels, and we have no power going to the front wheels. And the reason for that is you want to go ahead and warm those rear tires up. You have time to do that. So you have that ability. You can change the power where you want the power to go. You can change the regenerative, how it stops, how it does all that stuff. You can even put it in a drift. You can do all kinds of stuff with this vehicle. And that's the wonderful thing is you can go ahead and make your own tune. Now, on the M3, you'd have the different buttons, but we're not going to talk about the M3 right now. We're going to talk about the Model 3, okay? The other thing is when it comes to navigation, everything is very responsive. I mean, this display is just super crisp. It is just one of the, I would say, one of the best ones out there. You know, you can set where you want your if you need to charge. You know, this thing even tells you if you got a red light or a green light. I mean, everything is very to the point. It will go ahead and set your key automatically once you get in the car. it will automatically know who the profile is. Now, there are times that the profile does lag a little bit and does not recognize who you are. You just come in here and change who you want it to be, and the driver's automatically set, and everything changes to your seat, to your mirrors, to the radio, everything from top to bottom. One of the benefits are on this car is they've changed all. This is not just your standard old car where all your knobs and everything are at the door handles. This is everything is set to the controls. One of the things is when you get into this vehicle, it is very quiet. You do hear a little bit of hum from the fans, but this vehicle is very quiet. It does not have, you know, that loud noise when you go in and crank it up and you just hear, whoa, that sound of exhaust. So this is going to be a vehicle that, you know, if you're in a gated community, you're in a high-end community where a lot of people complain about the noise, this is going to be the vehicle that is going to be the best for you to drive when it comes to just kind of going in and out of places where you're not disturbing people. With the other car, it's going to be a lot louder, especially being able to adjust some things. Going into mentioning that, when we're talking about adjusting things, I just showed you how we can go in and adjust some of the parameters on tuning this vehicle. I would say one of the downfalls of this vehicle is limited on what you can do to the vehicle. When I say limited is you can't just go in and buy a tune and update it and get more power. This is what you're gonna get. So unless you have a hack to the computer to be able to produce more power, that is not out yet, and I don't think that's going to be out for a while. So that's one of the downfalls of this car. But we're going to go ahead and talk about some of the good things. Now, like I said before in the beginning of the video, this car does 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds. It's going to be faster than most of your sports cars out there. It does give you that just jerk right into your stomach, just that gut feeling as you get on it. Now, a lot of people are complaining, oh, well, I can't see the speed. Well, we always glance to the right of our steering wheel, and it's right there in the corner, so we can see the speed. It's almost like driving a Mini Cooper. We've had a couple Mini Coopers, and the tachometer is right there in the middle, so it's not nothing out of the ordinary for us. The only downfall is if you have a radar. Let me go ahead and, this is one of the wonderful things is on your Tesla, you can go ahead and set it up to drive automatically. Now, when you're on the phone, it did change in the update, so it knows where your eyes are at all times. But if you have the hand control that you can buy online, that's one of the awesome things. You have a radar and you want to see what's going on in your town as you're driving, you have to plug it all the way up into the center console, which is very, very disturbing. You know, you can see you got to have a longer cord for it to work and not be in your way. But anyway, so we left. We were charged up on this vehicle at 80%, and obviously when it comes to driving, your daily cost to charge this vehicle at 80%, if you're charging it at home, it's going to roughly cost you about $9, depending on how much you're paying per kilowatt. So $9 to fill it up, that's going to give you roughly about 225 miles per charge. And depending on how long your commute is to work, this is going to generally last you, you know, for a very long period of time. Now, if you do a lot of driving like we do, which our commute is 20 miles one way and 20 miles back to work, and some, like my wife, she drives 45 miles to work and 45 miles back, so that's 90 miles. That's just going there and back, and that's not stopping anywhere. So anyway, driving in this car, as you notice, it's very quiet. You can feel a little bit of the bumps. The thing I would say is the radio. You know, we always get in a car that we want to be able to control the radio, and a lot of the older cars, you had to buy a car to get that nice sound from it, and so people can hear it, you know. Especially if you had a car that was kind of loud, you needed to have that radio kind of take over and be able to listen to the radio. But also, if you had your windows down, not only does this vehicle have a great radio, this vehicle, when it's parked, you can listen to the radio on the outside of the car. It has a speaker on the outside. Like, why haven't any of the other manufacturers thought about that? Now, I know that there are some trucks out there and that have speakers in the tailgate, but I'm talking about cars. I'm talking about, you know, stuff in general. Is you can watch movies when you're parked, when you're charging. You can go into fireplace mode. You can make it, you know, do some silly things with fart noises and all that. But it also has capabilities to be able to watch movies when you're driving down the road. But there's a hack to that, being able to mirror it to your screen. But so yeah, just going back into the drive, I mean, it's very quiet. Being all-wheel drive, you know, the steering is a little bit more stiffer, but you can always change your steering to comfort. You can change your drive to chill to get more range. Now, it does adjust your range based on how you drive it. So if you're always accelerating, your miles, you know, that you're going to accumulate are going to be, you're going to accumulate more miles as you drive it. And your range, when you go ahead and charge back up, is not going to be a full capacity charge that you want it to be. So ideally, to drive this vehicle, most people that are driving Model 3 Performances are not driving it in chill, they're driving it in sport mode. And they're not getting the best range out of it. But Tesla already knew you were going to drive it that way, so they were already prepared for the way you were going to drive it and the range that it was going to be able to get. Now, like I said, this vehicle is very quiet, so it does not take over the noise. You got the full glass roof, which we do have a cover on this because down here in Florida, it does get really hot in the summertime inside the vehicle, and it takes a little while for it to cool down. But besides that, you know, you can't really complain. The seating in the back is, you know, you guys have watched the videos. You do have space for your family to sit in the back. It's not going to be ideal to have 3 kids back there to go into like New York or California on a road trip when they're arm to arm. I wouldn't say this is going to be that vehicle, but if you have 2 kids, then this vehicle might work for you guys. You know, the technology on this vehicle is just amazing, the way it drives. Now, this is the 2022, so it does have the sensors in the front and the rear bumper. On the 23, like on our Model Y, they went into the Tesla Vision. And instead of using just your standard sensors, they actually have their own vision, so they can monitor it, which is pretty cool technology as well. Now, if you want to drive this vehicle fast and you want to do some sporty things, you can. I mean, it's very simple. You change it to sport. You know, power brake the vehicle if you want to. You know, smoke the rear tires. This car has plenty of power. 475 horsepower to the rear wheels is pretty phenomenal. And it's instantaneous. There's no lag, there's no turbos, there's no superchargers. You know, so these vehicles came out 2018 and they have been one of the top hits of the market. Now, a lot of things have changed over the years, and so many people have started to mimic and try to come out with something that Tesla has already invented. And one thing that Elon Musk has done is he has opened all his patents up so that anybody can utilize his patents. And that's not always a bad thing. But what I will tell you is if you're going to invest your money into a EV, always go with something that has been out the longest. Why do we buy Nike? Why do we buy those things? Because we know the performance of it. We know how it can handle. Now, when I say Nike, Adidas, and Puma, you know, there's so many different brands out there. But a lot of people would always go with the Nike brand because they knew how it could perform in that sneaker. The same thing, the reason why so many people are buying Teslas is just hands down the technology, you know, the autonomy driving, all those things that it's capable of doing. And all these other companies are trying to mimic that. And that's one of the hardest things that you could try to do, is copy somebody. And I've been in the car business for a long period of time, and you guys can see there's trends that manufacturers are picking up on because other manufacturers are doing it. Mercedes, I would say, is one of the first companies, the first manufacturers to develop that full screen display that a lot of people are starting to see on these new cars, which I hate a copycat. I really do. I wish people would just make their own design and stick to it and make it be their car, not somebody else's car. But that's one of the things that Tesla has done. They have designed this car to be a Tesla car, and they're not trying to copy anybody else. They're trying to make it their own. Just like whenever you have the blind spot, now they have changed the blind spot lights. They've added into the speaker corners, which you'll be able to light up. But they do all these updates all the time. I mean, it's probably one of the coolest things that you could see on these new cars, on these Teslas, is they're constantly doing updates and they're constantly changing things. So let me show you real quick. So for example, if you had your blinker on, right? One of the things that it does, obviously we're in a 2-lane road right now, but it will light up in the corner right here. If it's red, then not let you know, they'll let you know somebody's over there. It's also going to beep. The one thing is cool is you can move this thing around. You can move your screen around where you want it to be. You can't do that in a normal car. Like, come on, folks. You know, just fast response. You know, obviously you want to change your air around. I mean, everything is on the tablet, but hands down, Tesla has the most, I would say, one of the most advanced systems out there that's very responsive. I mean, it does not, I've never seen this screen buffer, seen this screen lag. I've got a 2023 Chevy Tahoe, and when you go to open up the navigation, or you go to open up it's got a little timer, you know, and then it opens up, you know. That's a delay. Things that it does is they'll automatically keep this vehicle with the heated seats on, which sometimes is good in the winter, but not so good when it's warm out. Now, a lot of people say, oh, well, what if you're trying to park the vehicle, you know, all that stuff's been, you know, it does not allow you to change the vehicle into gear, reverse, and all that where you're driving. 2 smart pad chargers right there. Those do work if you have the right case on your phone. You know, now we did add the carbon fiber here. If you've seen some of our videos, we did add this to change the wood, you know, that wood look, just to change it up a little bit, give it a little bit more sportier look. This is just an overlay, so you can do that to pretty much any of yours and buy it. It's just a cool feature to have. And then we also added it down here as well, on the steering wheel. It is a vinyl sticker, so they will have a tendency to peel up over time if you do decide to change yours out. We obviously, as we've seen, we're you know, we're sitting here driving. We're at a red light. It beeps when the light turns green. You know, so many people that are on their phones today, and people are honking their horns and this and that. What car out there tells you that your light turned green to go? Tesla knew you were going to be on your phone. And the smartest thing about, you know, these updates that they do and the technology, one thing I would say about this car as well on Teslas, on all Teslas, is they have pet mode. So you have a camera built in. You can watch your pet. We have a dog, and there's times that we go places that we can't take the dog in. For example, going into the restaurant, we can leave our pet in the car. We can keep the air conditioner on, and we can monitor it right from our phone. We can keep an eye on the dog and look and see what the dog's doing from the camera. I mean, what other car can do that? Now, unless you put an aftermarket camera in your car and you let it run. But yeah, you're going to be burning more carbon into the air, into our ozone, and That's not what the economy is pushing for. They're pushing for cleaner air. And we'll talk more in depth about that because I have different opinions on that for myself. But everywhere you go, even though this car has been out for, 6 years, we still go places till this day, and people are like, I've never seen a Tesla. This is so cool. I've never seen inside of the Tesla. So many people still are not on board with these cars. And Tesla now has dropped their prices so much. We're like, oh my God, Tesla's dropping their price. Oh my God. Manufacturers do that all the time. Is they're setting themselves up to get rid of the older models as they bring in the newer models. Most all manufacturers do that. They have these great big incentives, especially in inflation time when we're going through an inflation period where high interest rates are out there. They've got to find ways to get rid of their vehicles. It's not because their vehicle sucks. It's just they want to continue to produce and continue to have jobs for people to work at. So they have to find means and find ways to be able to get rid of their vehicle. People are jamming out in that country music. I should put it in park and let them hear my music. Now, I didn't mention it earlier, but these Teslas come with a 20-inch wheel, turbine wheel, and they come with a smaller tire. We did go with a 20-inch wheel, but we are running the 245s on this vehicle instead of the 235s. But we are running Falcons instead of the Michelins, which the Falcons have gotten really good tread. We are rotating these tires right when we're supposed to be rotating them at every 5,000 miles, and we're getting really good wear on these tires. This vehicle has roughly right at 33,000, almost 34,000 miles on this vehicle. We have driven 15 miles. Duration's 23 minutes and average is 254 watts. We're going up here to Starbucks just to get us a drink. But one of the cool things is if you can't find something, just come up here and search it. What's your VIN number? There's certain things like, everybody's, oh, I can't find this, I can't find that. And it's like, they made it so much easier. So I got my Starbucks. Couldn't do the video while we're doing the Starbucks because you got to have your phone to pay. So that's first and foremost. But got my caramel frappuccino, one of the fixes that I had to have at Starbucks. And also picked up a chocolate croissant. If you guys know what I'm talking about, it's a great combination. But anyway, back into the Model 3 performance as we dive back into my opinion on that daily drive and why it's just a great commuting car to go back and forth to work. Reliability, I haven't had any problems with the vehicle whatsoever. Maintenance, what do you have to get maintenance done? How much are we paying on maintenance? We're paying $0 on maintenance. The reason why I say that is because when I upgraded these wheels and tires, I get free lifetime tire rotation and balance. So instead of paying $80 to get my tires rotated at Tesla or have them come out and do it, now they're coming out and doing it for $65. I don't have to pay anything. So now, do I have to top my fluids off? Yes. Do I have to buy a cabin filter? Yes. But other than that, I haven't had to do any maintenance. Now, I have heard that you do want to take your car in and get checked over every once in a while for wear and tear, but that's normal. So maintenance costs, like I said, nothing. So that's one thing that's important to us is your overall maintenance. A lot of people, like for instance for us on the BMW, is we have to drive about 80 miles to the BMW dealership because there's no BMW dealership nearby us. Neither is there a Tesla dealership nearby us. So we have to drive to those places if we want to get any type of service done. Now, there is a little bit of a rattle that you'll hear in this car in the rear passenger door. That is going to be getting fixed. We haven't taken it to get fixed we've heard some things about it, what it could be. You don't really hear it unless you go over a lot of bumps. But that is a concern that we had noticed, and we have seen some blogs out there about it. But the little things like that, I mean, you know, you are going to run into on some vehicles when it first came out, or when they're being produced, mass produced. So overall, you know, I'm on a 6-lane highway right now, and there is some bumps. If you notice, this car handles phenomenally, even with the aftermarket wheels that we've had put on. The one thing I would say about the wheels on this vehicle, one other reason why we changed these wheels is because of the curb rash. Women and some guys are notorious for running stuff over and not watching the curbs when they drive. So the wheels weren't protected, causing a lot of curb rash. You can see it on a lot of Tesla cars. They had the wheels stick out further than the tire, which I was not a fan of, and still not a fan of today. But a lot of people are doing that because they want that wheel to look much bigger than what it is. But the wheels that we actually had on this car, we are actually going to be putting on the Model Y, and we're going to be running a bigger tire on that car pretty soon, but trying to get the most out of the tires that's on there now before we change them up, because like I said, my wife does a lot of driving. So, but as you can see, this car is very quiet. It's just, you know, it's a great car to drive. We got rid of the Camry and put my son in this car. It's speed. Okay, for some of you guys that know that more boys have a problem with speeding than girls do. Now, I have a daughter, our oldest daughter. She likes to speed too. She probably gets that from her dad. But in this car, I can go in and adjust how fast I want the car to go. If I wanted to go no more than 70 mile an hour, it will go no more than 70 mile an hour. And you can't do that in a regular car. You have to download the app, you have to buy this, you have to buy that to be able to do that. This already comes with it. So, and if I want to share my key with somebody, all I have to do is send it to you, and you can drive the car yourself. So, now a lot of people say, oh, what about hacks? Well, what about this? Well, what if? I mean, there's a lot of what ifs, and we don't live in a what if world, but things can happen. But right now we're not focusing on those things. But that's another thing is, I would say this is probably one of the safest vehicles that I could put my child in when it comes to, you know, driving safe on the road. If you get out of the lane, you know, it beeps at you 90% and 99% of the time. It's going to, you know, stop when you get close to a car. I mean, it's got all the safety in it. It's surrounded by airbags. You know where the car is all the time. I mean, you can go in and look at the location. You can see everything where the car is at all the time. So that's just some of the features that it comes with, that you don't have to pay $20, $30 a month to be on the app to be able to provide. I mean, we have a 2023 Chevy Tahoe, and you know, if you want to have OnStar on that vehicle, you have to pay for it. I mean, it doesn't come with the vehicle. So it's one of those things that, you know, you want to make sure that, you know, what are you buying and how much more expenses are you going to have to pay for when you drive this vehicle. The reason why we bought this Model 3 was, yes, we could have bought the long range, but at that time I wanted something with more power, more performance. I want to see what these cars can actually do. This is our first EV that we ever bought, and with my wife doing a lot of driving and our daughter plays travel ball, we're all over the state of Florida, we felt and we realized what I come up would cost, just in cost alone for fuel, was costing us $600 a month. That's just in fuel. That's not car payment. That's nothing included. So if you had a car that you're paying $600 in fuel to go to practice and travel, now that's with my wife going to work and everything. So $600. So $600, you could have a Tesla for less than that, charge it for less than $100 a month. I would say roughly, depending on where your commute is, and you're paying for your fuel. So that's one of the reasons why we bought this car. Now, if your commute is 5 miles to work and 5 miles home, and you don't go out of town much, then the EV probably might not be up your alley. But if you're gonna buy an EV, I would tell you, hands down, buy a Tesla. And depending on what kind of vehicle you're looking at, I would tell you, to just go out and drive them, experience them. Don't buy something that a brand new manufacturer, brand new, just came out with, and it's a new model. I mean, the EV9s is a nice Kia, but at the end of the day, it's a Kia, folks. It's just a Kia. And how long have they been making electric cars? So are you going to be okay with spending $80,000, $90,000 or $75,000 on an EV9? Or would you be more comfortable paying that $80,000, $90,000 on a Tesla Model X or even a Model Y for less the price and get the 3-row? So we're almost to the house now. I live out in the rural areas, so we see a lot of country area. We do a lot of driving. Be in the country because you don't have to worry about all the people on the road, and you got something to look at when you're driving instead of looking at buildings and cars. So that's nice to have if you can have that lifestyle. You do have to do a little bit more driving, and you do have to add that into your schedule. And that's the reason why I have my M3, and we're going to be talking about the M3 here in just a minute. So let's jump in the M3 and let's go for a ride. Now, as we get into the M3, we noticed that it has a ginormous display, and it's got a 14.7 inch screen on this side, which is still pretty big. But as you notice, we crank it up, got some noise. Now everything is touchscreen, so you can do some tuning to the vehicle, and you can set, obviously, if you want to change the engine performance, if you want to change your chassis, steering, all that good stuff. Okay, but we're gonna go in and we're gonna change that to sport, and we're gonna leave everything else in comfort, because that's how I had it on the other car. You can do the two-wheel drive, you can light the tires up, you can smoke them, you can do anything you want to them. Now in this gauge, if you want, you can change it to sport, and you can change your tachometer, which is pretty cool. The one thing is this screen is a lot further away, and if you want to change your air conditioner, this is where you have to change it. Okay, same thing with most of the other cars. If you want to go to your home screen, you got to tap up here. It's just so much stuff that, as you can see. Okay, so I'm in the home screen. I want to go into the settings screen. It's got a little bit of a lag, okay? And there's just, they put everything in like an app system, right? But I don't know. I mean, there's just certain things that you can go in and you can just make it more simple, and change. Now, I do like the dial down here. I like that dial, how you can go in and change stuff. But like, for instance, we were looking at the navigation, okay? And we can't, or I should say, how come when we go into zoom, we can't have satellite view? You see, I mean, there's just certain things. I mean, you can watch TV on this, but you have to have an Android. Not everybody has Androids, right? Let's talk about the amazing things in this car, okay? First and foremost, this is a M3 xDrive comp. And not only that is an xDrive comp, this is a Jahre Edition, okay? So all you guys can see, I do have the badge of 1 of 500. It is actually 1 of 100 because they only made 100 red cars of the Cinnabar red. And how many of those red cars have already been in any accidents? We don't know. And since these cars have came out in 2021, they've only made 25,000 M3s, all right? The xDrive comp is a new addition. Well, we're gonna take it for a ride and we're gonna see how she drives. Now, first thing in the morning, it loves to pick up rocks on this road. Now, you can't see a heads-up display that much. So, the one thing about this car is you can always change your custom tunes, okay? So, this car will allow you to tune it and change to your M1 or M2. Now, this car has been tuned, so that's one of the benefits of a aspirated engine car is you can do so many modifications to the car to make it faster and sound better. All right, so you hear what I said, faster or sound better. But maybe you're not into that. But if you're not into that, you wouldn't be driving an M3 xDrive comp, and you can't just let it rip. Tater chip. They're gonna let everybody know, okay? They'll let everybody know that you're on the road. And there ain't nothing wrong with that. I love the way that sounds. And the nice thing about having these open intakes, the Mishimotos, is you can hear those intakes on the inside of the cab. Now, the one downfall I would say about this car is it's hard to drive it slow. It's almost like driving a ZX-10 1000R and just putting around the speed limit. It's just impossible. Everywhere you go, this is definitely an eye catcher. I mean, everybody's looking at the car, so it draws a lot of attention too. So even if the cops ain't running radar, they're gonna, when they ride by, they're gonna, most likely they're looking. If you guys have just noticed this too, is where's my Apple CarPlay? It's supposed to be down here, and not every time does it open up, okay? And you have to go in and you have to force it. So you have to pay for that Sirius XM. If you want to listen to Spotify, you know, it's already set up. I like to listen to relaxing white noise when I go to sleep, so don't hate. Now I have an Escort radar in here. Hands down, probably one of the best radars that's out there. But if you notice down here, it doesn't have the right plug, so I have to put on a piggyback adapter, which is stupid, in my opinion. Thanks to the Germans over there and their integrated design of the 12-volt plug-in.
In the surrounding area?
Yes, you should search for gas stations in the surrounding area. Thank you, BMW. So she's gonna search for gas stations because we're running at a range of 30 miles. And the closest one, and see, this is one thing, is I like that it does that. Tesla also lets you know is, hey, you're running low on charge, you need to stop and charge somewhere. So that's always a good perk. Things is, it burns through a lot of gas because, like I said, you can't drive this car slow. I mean, you can drive it slow, but you don't want to drive it slow, you know? You want to drive this thing the way it's supposed to be driven. There's a movie called Ford versus Ferrari. And if you guys seen that movie with Christian Bale, this one guy, he's having problems with a Ferrari. He says it's spitting and sputtering, and he jumps in it and just rips it, right? Comes back, the car's acting fine, sir. I don't know what the problem is. And the guy's like, what, are you crazy? He said, well, that's how you're supposed to drive these cars, you know? So if you're not driving the car right, then it might not perform right. The thing is, on this car, you have to put 93, all right? Now, what did I say earlier? We had charge, okay? And to get that 80% charge, it cost me about $7, $8. It's not gonna cost me $7, $8 to put fuel in this car. I gotta put 93, I could put 91, but I'm putting 93. And right now we're at $4 a gallon. To find a gas station ASAP, right? Now, and if you're like me, you gotta hurry up and put gas in, because there might not be, you might go to a gas station that doesn't have 93. I don't know how many of you guys have been out there, but it's a problem. Now let's go into more depth about this car. So this car, I can drive this car to work every day, but I'm not going to. And the reason why I'm not going to drive this car every day to work is because, one, I don't want to put all the miles on this car. It's a specialty car to me. It's a sports car, and it's not my daily commute car, because every time I take this car out, I have to wash it. I have to wash it. Or I'm out, you know, touching up the front, cleaning the bugs off. I hate getting this car dirty. I love driving the car, don't get me wrong. I love driving this car. It's just the upkeep. It's almost like having a boat or, you know, a plane. I mean, you know, you just got so much more maintenance cost, upkeep, taking care of it, to keeping it, you know, pristine condition. Now, one thing is, I'm trying to keep the miles off this car, is because obviously these cars are a depreciating asset. So the more miles you have on your car, the less it's going to be worth. And I don't want to have to deal with that down the road. That's one reason why I don't drive a car every day. The other reason is, you know, the cost to drive it, the affordability. You know, we talked about earlier, this is a $100,000 car. Unless you got like $50,000 to put down on the car to keep your payments up to about $1,000 a month, you know, your payments are going to be pretty high. Plus your insurance, plus the cost to put the fuel in, plus to have the maintenance done. Now, you're not doing too much maintenance if you're not doing too much driving. But what if you are daily driving this car, and you are doing, you know, a lot of miles on this car? Then you do have to do the service on it. Then you do have to, you know, you get the 3-year service. Now, anytime I buy a vehicle, I always make sure that I get the tire protection, because we're going to run stuff over, especially going to wear some tires out. I mean, how many times have you ever went on a road and got a flat tire? I mean, we've all done it. We've all had a nail or screw in a tire, unless you're 16 and you just started driving. I'll tell you right now, this is not the best car to be daily driving. It's a fun car. It's a fast car. But what happens if you get in an accident? It's going to be expensive. What happens if you get pulled over? It's going to be expensive. This great car, now if you can afford it, let me rephrase that. If you can afford to drive this car daily, maybe this car is chump change compared to, you know, your Ferrari or your, you know, Lamborghini, or, you know, your new Maserati. I mean, maybe it's a little bit more expensive, but I wouldn't really put Maserati in that category. But you know, they do have that new Maserati that just came out, which is pretty nice. But anyway, so there are some people that are driving a Porsche 911, and this might be their daily. But for me, it's not. And the other thing is this is, to me, this is compared to a Porsche 911. So many things that you can do to this car that you can't do on a Tesla. You can do some modifications to this car, and you can be hitting the nines. One of the fastest cars out there to modify, twin turbo S58, is the way to go. Now on the M5, yeah, there's a lot of options that you can do on the M5, but we're talking about the M3 in comparison to the Model 3. So we're gonna go up here to the Raceway. I know some of you guys are just saying, it's not a Shell. Okay, well, it's still 93 octane is what I'm looking for, and also get perks for fueling up at a gas station. I'm gonna add that link in the description below. It's called Upside. You link your bank account to it, and you can get rewards. I'm getting 20 cents back for every gallon I put in my car. And you can do that at certain places that you go shopping, at certain restaurants. Check it out. But I'm gonna get some fuel real quick, and we'll get back on the road. You can go in here and change the dials and adjust things and look at different things. Yeah, you know, it's all right, but you know, you got to push so many buttons to figure it out, which obviously if you're driving every time, you know exactly where to go. But why can't they just make everything on one screen and look at different things? But what I do like about the navigation is once you do have your Apple CarPlay hooked up, it will put the navigation directions right there on your display, so you can see exactly where you want to go right in front of your eyes. We put $40 in, and we got 276 miles on the range, which that's not always going to be accurate, but 40 miles for 10 gallons. Come on, America, what are we doing? Well, let's go out for a cruise. We're going to continue to ride. Driving this car, obviously, you can't drive it like the Tesla because you always got to watch for little bumps like that, little things on the road. You're driving a little extra cautious. You got to really be more alert on the road, definitely more so, I would say. Not to say that you're not going to be alert on your Model 3 Performance, because you should be, but it's a little bit different, you know. You definitely got to watch, you know, how you're driving, how people are driving, because you're going to be doing stuff like that. One thing also I like that BMW has done is they had in their transmission had give you different shift points, so you can adjust how the transmission shifts up and down there. Put it in 3, 2, or 1. I have it in 1 right now, but usually when I have it in 1 or M2, I have it on setting 3, so it winds that gear out a lot further. But we're not going to be riding to Starbucks in this car because we already went there. But it's pretty much about the same commute that we drove. We just changed it up a little bit because we had to go to the gas station. It is still a very quiet car on the inside of the cab. Is, you know, just the elegancy, you know, they put a lot of money into their vehicles. Now in this vehicle, the M3 does not have as many options that the M5 does, and you can get certain things on it. You got to upgrade into it, which is the same thing on the Model 3. If you want certain things, you have to upgrade into it when you build it. The nice thing is about when you're buying a Tesla in comparison to buying a BMW is you don't have to worry about going to the dealership. You just take care of it online, and it is what it is. You don't have to, you know, you're not negotiating or anything like that, but you're also not having to pay any market adjustment. You're not having to pay for any add-ons like a delivery fee. You're not having to pay for, you know, a dealer fee. You're not having to pay for electronic filing fee. You know, there's certain things you don't have to pay for that you're already paying for when you go to the dealership. So yeah, this is, to me, this is a really good car to drive. Now, like I said, I'm not driving this car every day. This vehicle sits in the garage the majority of the week, and I take it out once or twice a week and take it for a spin, you know, get that oil lubed up, get the motor running, get the battery charged up, and, you know, feel that adrenaline. Back to the topic that we originally discussed. Which one would you daily drive? You know, everybody has their own opinion. Everybody has their own budget. And if you can afford both, go on all means, be happy with both vehicles. The Model 3 Performance is definitely going to be a daily. Now, if you're wanting something more of an SUV, something a little bit more higher off the ground, then I would tell you to go for the Model Y Performance. That one's still going to have the sports capabilities, but you also get easy entry and easy exit. In a sports car, you're not really going to get that easy entry, easy exit, unless you're buying like a Lamborghini Urus or something like that, which who's got $275,000 to just throw at a car for their daily commute. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, you know, the M3 xdrive comp, it handles phenomenally, and it will still break loose. The tires will still get away on the rear end. The front end kind of keeps it together, and that's one of the things I like that BMW finally added was the all-wheel drive in the M3, so it gives it better performance. But if you take this car to the track, which we are going to do here pretty soon, We're going to see what the JB4 does. We're also looking at Femco unlock and really dialing into the ECU. It's something I really didn't want to have to do, but I'm very upset with some of the things that they've limited on this car, which not necessarily means anything for your daily driver, but it is governed, and so it only allows you to go like 156 miles an hour, which is plenty fast, don't get me wrong. But if you're on the track and you're tracking the car and you have the option to open it up on corner 3 and hit, you know, a 3/4 mile stretch, you're gonna hit that speed way before. So we have the Sebring Raceway over here, and it's something that you know, I've been always wanting to get on that track, and there's a lot of tests and stuff that you have to do, but this is definitely one of my dream cars to have. It was going to be this car or the Porsche 911. I am glad I got this car. A lot of people saying, oh, that's a family car, you know, you should have got the M4. Well, maybe I should have got the M8, but I mean, regardless, I've got a family. Most of us have families, and we need to have that extra room. And you know, not only are you going to have families, but you might have friends that want to ride with you, and you just don't have that room if you put in a 911 Porsche or, you know, an M4. So just to have that extra room. I appreciate if you guys have been watching this whole time and haven't hit the like button, go ahead and hit the like button. But I just like to do it just to give you a real opinion on these vehicles, because YouTube is a really good avenue to have, especially when you want to know something about something. I mean, it used to be we Google it, now we YouTube it. So YouTube, hey, I appreciate it, guys. But also, if you want, comment below on which one you would daily drive and why. That's the most important. And just to give all the viewers their opinion, if you have one already, go ahead and click and write down in there what you have, what you're driving. And if you haven't drove the M3 or you haven't drove the Model 3 Performance, I would encourage you to at least drive it, test drive it, and see what you feel. It's totally different, two different animals, right? And the reason why I say it's two different animals is it's like almost two different species. You had an all-electric versus an all-aspirated gas motor, but there's so many more options. Now, when it comes to upgrades, I did see one of the YouTubers, I can't remember his name offhand, but he was saying that one of the reasons why he hasn't done too many upgrades to his M3 is because of the cost, okay? I mentioned earlier about a Femco tune, to go ahead and retune this car the way I want it and to put it on E50. It's going to cost me roughly about $5,000, which isn't that bad, but it's still $5,000 that I could have went and bought something else, you know? Driving an EV, the cost of upgrades are minimum. I mean, you're gonna maybe lower your car, put some different wheels on it, but that's basically about it. These cars, you have to do so much more to it. Now, I think down the road in the near future, it's going to give you more options to be able to unlock certain things, to be able to do certain things to their cars with, but I'm not sure if it's going to be on every car. It might be just on certain ones. I think that Tesla is going to come out with an exotic car, and, you know, pretty much be like the Bugatti of Tesla, you know, and be expensive, but have so many different parameters on what you can do. The technology that Tesla has and what they've come up with since, you know, the early 2000s till today, I mean, is astonishing. Most of your manufacturers are still trying to grasp that today, and they've been in business for, you know, over 30, 40, 50 years. So I just had to go around a bungee cord strap with 2 hooks on it that was in the road. So that's just one of the things, you know, you just want to watch out. I mean, these tires are like $500 a piece if you don't have the tire protection. But then if you run something over and you do have the tire protection, you still got to take it to the BMW dealership or another dealership that's going to take care of your wheels and your tires for you at no additional cost. So there's a lot of ins and outs of owning one of these cars, but it's really fun to drive. But like I said, I've had multiple bikes, and this car is just like having a sports bike, and it's just so hard to stay out of the pedal. So hard to stay out of it. And don't get me wrong, there's days that I just want to cruise, but majority of the time when you get in this car, you know, it's like an adrenaline rush. You know, if you're an adrenaline junkie, this car is definitely going to be for you. But yeah, so for me, a daily driver, over anything, I'm going to go with the Model 3 Performance, because there's just so many more things that you can do with it. And when it comes to reliability and the overall cost to have that vehicle, the Model 3 is going to be so much more better for you. I mean, at $50,000-$60,000 for a Model 3 Performance, I mean, you can get a used one right now for probably in the mid-40s. And so, you know, these cars are running with the best of them. I mean, 11.5, and this car is doing 11 flat. I mean, you know, but anyway, for your best bang for your buck, and I mean, $100,000 versus $60,000, you know, unless you can afford that payment and you want to, you know, throw money out there, that's definitely going to be something that you're going to have to think about for your daily drive. And then at the end of the day, what's the car worth after 2 years, 3 years of ownership? Are you going to get that money back that you know, spent on that vehicle? How much money did that vehicle overall cost for you? You know, so you think about it. If you had a vehicle, you spent $100,000 on it, you drove it for 2 years, and you go to trade it in, and they give you $70,000. So that vehicle cost you $15,000 a year to have that vehicle, plus all the maintenance, upkeep, details, you know, anything that you had to do to that vehicle on top of that, with insurance and all that. So what did it all actually cost you? Did it cost you $20,000 a year? You know, I mean, so you're better off just going to rent a vehicle, if, you know, on that aspect of it. But the same thing, I mean, cars are a depreciating asset unless you're buying something very rare. So just drive it, own it, and try to take care of it the best you can. But I mean, if you're doing 100 miles a day, definitely the M3 is not going to be, you know, your vehicle that you're going to drive every day. Hands down, is going to be the Model 3. But if you're driving, you know, 15 minutes to work, and you want something nice, you want something sporty, you want something that's, you know, going to wet your willy every time you get in a car, I'm going to tell you, get the M3. You got the money and you can afford it, get something nice, get something that you can afford. But if it's something that you're going to be wanting to buy that is going to save you money in the long run, and you want to be smart with your money, I'm going to tell you, go ahead and get a Tesla Model 3. And you can drive the wheels off that car. And trust me, I have drove that car hard and never had any problems with it. Hey, if you haven't already, click the like button, and we'll see you on the next one. God bless.